We are back on the track. That's right. This time with stuffed peppers and baked tomatoes. Very similar. We're going to cook them together. Alright. Got some bacon that I did. Left the bacon fat in there. And I've started with some chopped up onions. You don't need to see me chop up onions. But you don't really need to see me chop up anything. But you're going to a little bit. I'm going to put in some already chopped up mushrooms, because why not? And I'm going to chop up a few more. Any idiot can chop a mushroom. It doesn't make any difference how you chop a mushroom, as long as you get it into little pieces. You know, we don't roughly chop our mushrooms, we chop them. This roughly chopping crap that you see on TV is like bullpucky. And, because, you know, you don't roughly chop anything, you chop them. Chop anything you do. You can finely chop something. We're going to finely chop, that's right, some garlic, because I don't have any garlic in a jar here. And when I say finely chop, I'm not going to finely chop it, I'm just going to chop it as best I can and put some in. And it doesn't make any difference how much you put in, but it'd be nice to put in enough so you tasted it. Garlic is a great thing to have in there. Any shape, size, or form. The bacon that I did, I'm going to crumble here just for you. Possibly off camera, possibly not. Basil, we're going to use some basil in this. Could be, that's right, basil in a jar, but we're going to use fresh basil because I happen to have it. We'll turn this up just a wink. Stir it around just a wink. I should turn this up more. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. You hear that nice sizzling sound? Well, of course you don't. But it's sizzling a little bit here. Alright, so take off our basil leaves. This is why you buy it in a jar, but so you don't have to go through this. Well, it doesn't taste much different. Dare I say fresh stuff that's been sitting around your grocery shelf for 2 weeks. Fresh. Ah! Or in a jar. Same thing. Alright, why don't we put this in? Why not? Well, sure. We're going to want, for the top of our peppers, some cheddar cheese. So I am going to take a big chunk of cheddar here and slice off some pieces. Alright, I need a bigger knife, and I've got one here somewhere. Sure I do. There we go. That'll make it easier and better. Proper tool for the proper job. All you need is a proper cook. Oh, God! Well, that's plenty of cheese for later on. This is not for now. Why don't we just put it over there? Now, you definitely do not have to do this, because you can use rice that's been pre-cooked. It can be cold rice. Doesn't make any difference as long as it's cooked. We happen to have some rice here, and because we're doing it in this order, I thought I would put it in almost next. But because we got mushrooms in there, I think we'll just throw a little wine in there. Now, another incredible fiction is that when you use wine in cooking, you should be able to drink the wine you use in cooking. Well, you can if you want, and I do. This is the cheapest, best Merlot from Chile you can get. Is this Merlot or is this Cabernet? This is Merlot. And it doesn't make any difference what kind of red wine, as long as it's serious red wine. And they always say, well, you know, drink what you're cooking with. Well, that'd be great unless you're using a really expensive wine that night to drink with. Let's just assume you're having a nice Barolo. You know, 80 bucks a bottle. You shouldn't be using it in cooking. You should just drink that stuff. You should find the best cheap wine you can. You have to figure out what the best cheap wine is, and you can do it. Heaven knows I've experimented. Alright, now, we have, you can use any kind of pre-cooked rice. We've got some fabulous cheap stuff that we've cooked up here. And it doesn't make any difference what kind of rice, but I usually use brown rice. If you can, it'd be best to use brown rice because it's better for you. Best for you would be wild rice, and we could have done that, but, you know, who wanted to go through that? And, of course, it's ends up being very, very black, very dark. Once you start cooking rice, then you should definitely put in some butter. Up until this point, it's only been bacon fat. There's a great song called Bacon Fat, you know. We're not cutting to it because we have no rights to bacon fat. But nonetheless, we're putting in butter now. When you use rice with butter, you generally put in some soy sauce. Now, if you're going to use soy sauce, for heaven's sake, use real soy sauce. Real soy sauce on the back says whole bean soy sauce. Anything that, I know it says Kikkoman, don't be fooled. They actually do make real good stuff as opposed to stuff you buy in the grocery store. It's harder to find, and in Japan, they will not leave it out. They put it in the refrigerator. You should too. Yeah, whole bean soy sauce. That's right. And with rice, mix it in with butter and the rice, of course. And then suddenly you have something that you really want to eat. Now, mind you, for what we're doing, you don't really have to pre-cook any of this. This could be just pre-cooked cold old rice and raw mushrooms, raw onion. It doesn't make any difference. And of course you can put in, that's right, basil in a jar. Or anything you want. Oregano in a jar. It doesn't have to be quote-unquote fresh. Oh, good heavens. Well, considering this is just a stuffing. And it's a stuffing for, that's right, peppers. So what we're going to do is we're going to slice off the top of these peppers. Peel off the top, if we can get it off. Of course we can. It's going to take a little work. And take the insides out, because you don't want that. No point having a bunch of seeds in this. And we're having various colors of peppers for no good reason. It doesn't make any difference. It could be any color. It could be green, which is typical, red, which you can find anywhere, yellow or orange if you want to go somewhere exotic. Not that we went anywhere overly exotic to find our peppers, but you know, they just look more interesting if they're a different color. Alright. We are getting into the tomato side of this. I know we're going to come back to the peppers, of course. We're just going to cut the tomatoes in half. Because all we're not scooping them out. We're not filling them with a filling. Although you certainly could, and oftentimes you should. Ah! And we'll get to that in a minute, too. We have to make the rest of the filling, the real filling. The real filling for the peppers would be ricotta cheese. Oh, let's see. That's a lot of ricotta. I am going to throw in a variety of cheeses. I'm going to use a combination of, that's right, Swiss and Gruyere. Like Gruyere is not Swiss. God, who are these people? Anyway, we're going to throw some of that. It's not important what you put in. You can put in any kind of cheeses you want. I will always put in some Parmesan on all kinds of things. But you need to, and you need some eggs. I like using what I call fake eggs, which are egg whites, which of course have a lovely food color with them to make them yellow. If you get whites of egg whites, they turn out to be ishy. So just get, you know, what I call fake eggs. Pour a little of that in there. You need something to puff it up, and that'll do it. Now, you can use a regular egg or two. Nothing wrong with that. You mix this fabulous stuff together. Now, we're going to do this in 2 steps. Oh, we're going to throw in our, why don't we throw in our bacon bits now. Could go in with the rice, but hell, we're going to put it in now. Now, oh heavens, we're going to need some pepper. Again, the only pepper grinder you want is this one. Throw in some salt. Doesn't have to be much, but some. Secret to cooking is salt, remember that. Now, we're going to make one pepper, which is different than the rest. That'll be our orange pepper, because we have some foolish friend of ours who considers herself gluten-free, and so she doesn't want, oh, we've left out the rice, haven't we? Well, maybe she'd be afraid of rice too, so who knows. So we're going to put this, oh, we've got our glass thing, we'll bring that over in a minute. But for the rest of us, who really care about what we're doing here, you want to put in some breadcrumbs. And you can make your own doggone breadcrumbs if you want to, but again, why would you want to do that? They're not going to be any better than, that's right, good store-bought breadcrumbs. Pour in some breadcrumbs. And then for us, should have done it for her too, is our ricey poo business here. And this is actually not very important, but most people think it is, that it's about time for you to turn on your oven. You know, preheated oven, which is fine, but you know, it's not really very important. Unless you're making a cake, and then it is. If you're baking things, that is important. But for the rest of us, the real world, it doesn't make much of any difference at all. Alright. I know, I started out with my tomatoes and I've completely gone away from my tomatoes, haven't I? I'm sorry. We'll get back to the tomatoes. They are coming next. But now that I've done this, why don't I just finish up that? We're going to bring over, that's right, a container that will hold these things upright. And I wanted it to be big enough to put my tomatoes in, so that's why it's this shape. It looks like this. And then, of course, you have to find a way to spoon these in. That's obnoxious, isn't it? But, you know, you can do it. How hard can it be, really? Now, apparently we're going to have leftover stuffing here, ricotta and the like. So what you should do is refrigerate that, cover it and refrigerate it, because you can use that in noodles and all kinds of things tomorrow, which we will. Okay, that's good enough for that, and except for the cheese. You need the cheese on top. Cover it with cheese. And this is just, I recommend cheddar. You can put any kind of cheese you want on top, but cheddar is a surefire hit. Alright, oh good heavens. It's almost ready. Okay, now, for the tomatoes, I'm not going to scoop the tomatoes out. And, oh look at this. Oftentimes you would, and you'd put in something like that. You put in some sort of stuffing. Any kind of stuffing will do. But not going to do that. All we're going to do is put on a little bit of red wine. This is unimportant. You don't have to do this. Not much, because, you know, where can it go? You haven't scooped it out. And then I am going to put on a little bit of balsamic. If you were taking this very seriously, you would have taken your balsamic and you would have reduced it by cooking it slowly for a while and making it a whole lot thicker, but we're not going to go that far, although anybody can do that, and it's a nice idea. Alright, so I started out cooking. This is obviously more or less, except for that bacon, a vegetarian meal. And I started out cooking things that were vegetarian when my daughter was very little, because she was being raised as a vegetarian. And once, because we traveled to France often, when she was about 4 years old, we went to Eugenie Le Bon with Michel Girard. He's the chef there, he's famous, and he's terribly good. I had some of my best that I ever had with him. This is a 4-star hotel and a 3-star restaurant. Now mind you, 4-star hotel is the best in the world. Whenever you hear about a 5-star hotel, you just have to wink. Anyway, 4-star hotel, 3-star restaurant, the best in the world. You know, the child is getting tired of having these wonderful meals, and she wants something really normal. And we had met another couple, and they had 2 daughters, Ashley and Gray. I remember their names. I don't remember the couple's name. That mother with those kids said, yes, we will go off and we'll find something that the kids will like. And so she called down to the kitchen and said, can we get something simple for the children, like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And they said, okay, oui, madame. And it took forever. Now, I was eating a real meal downstairs, but I learned later that it took 45 minutes for them to bring up this sandwich. And the woman asked the person along the way, said, why is this taking so long? And they said, well, we had to go out and find the peanuts, and then we had to grind them. And I went, God, they're grinding their own peanut butter. All right. Oh, by the way, excellent tea, Margaret. And on top of that, really nice basil retrieval. So now with that, with the tomatoes, we're going to put on a mixture of Parmesan and breadcrumbs on top. This is a little bit like something Jacques Pepin might come up with. He enjoys mixing breadcrumbs and Parmesan. And then, to finish this business, before we throw it in the oven at, roughly speaking, 450 on bake, we top everything with some olive oil. Yeah, that's right. You saw me use 1 tablespoon of olive oil, didn't you? All right. Sorry. Ah, yeah. Okay, so that's going to go for, you know, something like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. We're back on the track. That's right, to pull out our stuffed peppers and tomatoes. And look, oh, Gad, they're good enough. Yeah. Oh, no, they'll be good. And we'll turn off the oven. Sometimes I forget to do that. That's silly. I forgot to put in tiger sauce or red pepper flakes. And I'm going to do that on all of them now because Eve really likes them with red pepper flakes. And I like anything with, that's right, tiger sauce. They don't pay me to say this. Almost out of tiger sauce now. We're going to just do this in the peppers because why not just in the peppers? Oh, we're out of this stuff, so that's it. Good. Excellent. There you go. Should be delicious. Excellent tea, Margaret. Excellent.